What if I told you that anxiety isn't a feeling, but a habit? That self-doubt isn't a personality trait, but a program that got installed when you were too young to question it. And that the reason nothing has worked up until now is because you've been trying to change how you feel without ever touching the code that controls your behaviors and your emotional state. This episode revolves around the idea, the fact, the truth that you are not broken. You're just running outdated programming, outdated software that is inhibiting your quality of life. If you've ever finished a self-help book, maybe you felt inspired for a few days and slid right back into the same patterns, this episode is for you. If you've done therapy, you tried journaling, you downloaded some meditation apps you used for 4 days and then forgot they exist, you read the books, you listened to the podcasts, probably like this one, and yet you still wake up with that familiar knot in your stomach, stick around. I have some very important things to share with you. And at the end, something that will really help you take this to the next level. Here's what you probably have never been told before, and that is that it's not your fault. You weren't broken. You are not flawed. You were just working at the wrong level of awareness. And today I want to show you exactly what that actually means and why understanding this one thing could change everything for you. Now, if you're new here, my name is Lance Sinclair, and I'm not some academic with a PhD who's never actually dealt with anxiety themselves, or a therapist who will tell you to talk about your feelings for years without real change. I'm just a guy who was once completely broken by anxiety and cult brainwashing, who discovered that your emotional wiring isn't fixed. It's just a set of programs you can rewrite with the right tools. And by the way, I'm not special, but I did go from peak neuroticism to the first percentile on the Big 5 personality assessment. That means that measurably and statistically, I am more calm and composed than around 99% of the population. I went from daily panic attacks and what they call depersonalization to what I have now, which is emotional mastery and unshakable composure. And along the way, on this journey, I've had the privilege of helping clients eliminate phobias, anxiety, and limiting beliefs that traditional therapy couldn't touch in years. I've been fortunate to train with some of the world's leading experts in hypnosis, NLP, and behavioral engineering like Tony Robbins and Chase Hughes, and what they taught me has changed my life. I've seen what's possible when you work at the subconscious level, neutralizing anxiety on the spot, eliminating a phobia in 10 minutes, helping people break a 40-year habit in 2 hours instead of 21 days, and watching clients break through income ceilings, seeing their entire identities transform in just a few weeks. While other coaches celebrate helping someone cope better with stress, I've been fortunate enough to see people eliminate anxiety at its root, rewire decades-long patterns in hours, and create lasting transformation in a fraction of the time. And honestly, that's why I'm here today. That's why I decided to resurrect this podcast, because I am tired of seeing high achievers sabotage their own success because they don't know how to rewire their subconscious. And if I can do it, if someone who was as stuck in these limiting patterns as I was can break free, then I know without a doubt you absolutely can too. Here's all I ask from you. For the next 20 minutes, be willing to consider that change might be easier than you have been led to believe. Not because I'm asking you to believe me blindly. Please do not question what I say to you. But because it's the very ways of thinking, feeling, and acting that stand so far outside of what you're used to doing that hold the potential of bringing you results that are so far out of what you're used to enjoying. Does that make sense? So without further ado, let's jump in. What is the real reason nothing you have tried has worked? If you've tried everything and still feel stuck, I want to make you aware of a couple of things because it's probably not what you think it is. Here's what's actually happening. You've been trying to change your emotions from the part of your brain that doesn't control them. Think about that for a second. You've been using willpower, insight, understanding. You've been thinking your way through your anxiety, analyzing it, dissecting it, journaling about it, talking about it in therapy, most likely. And look, those things aren't useless. They have their place. They are great. But here's the problem. You have a conscious mind and you have a subconscious mind. The neuroscience tells us your conscious mind only controls 5% of your emotions, behaviors, beliefs, and identity. Your conscious mind, the part that thinks, analyzes, and reasons, that's not where your emotional patterns live. Trying to resolve your stress and anxiety and all these habituated ways of feeling by conscious thought alone is like trying to delete a file from your computer by moving the icons around on your desktop, or by staring at your screen and really thinking hard about it. You can't think your way out of a subconscious pattern that's been conditioned in for many years. One of the things a lot of people come to me for is smoking cessation, to quit smoking with hypnosis. And what's interesting about that is everybody that smokes or vapes knows the dangers and the risks of smoking. They know that cigarettes have thousands of chemicals your body shouldn't process. They know that if you take an 8-ounce glass and you fill it with nicotine and you drink it, you'd be dead within 12 minutes. They know the risks of cancer and gangrene and the tooth decay and all the things that come with smoking. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how expensive it is. And I'm not talking about money. How much it costs them, how much health and peace of mind it costs them. It doesn't matter. They still reach for the cigarettes. They still reach for the vape. That's because no amount of conscious awareness about a problem or a behavior actually makes a difference in how you feel or what you do. And maybe they tried cold turkey before, or they tried other modalities and it didn't work. But with hypnosis, we go in and we rewire the program and they quit in 2 hours. So how is that possible? Just 2 weeks ago, I had a guy reach out for help to get rid of claustrophobia, which is the fear of confined spaces, or more accurately, of not having an escape. And he has tried everything before reaching out. He went to therapy. He tried a bunch of different modalities. Nothing worked. We met one time, and in just a few minutes, he was able to eradicate that phobia for good. And then a couple days after, go on a flight on a really small plane and feel totally fine. I remember talking to someone who'd done 5 years of therapy recently. 5 years. She understood her trauma inside and out. She could explain exactly why she was anxious. She knew the root cause. She had the language. For a moment, I even thought, is she a cognitive behavioral therapist? She had all the insights. And she still felt anxious every single day. Now, why is that? Because insight doesn't equal transformation. You can know exactly what you need to do. You can know what's right for you. That doesn't mean you will do what you know. Knowing why you feel something doesn't make you stop feeling it, does it? I mean, if you're listening this far now, you probably know that's true. You know you shouldn't feel anxious about something that's irrational, maybe that you know consciously will not come true. You know you're capable. You know you maybe are being too hard on yourself. but you feel it anyway. You feel those doubts creep up. You feel those irrational fears inhibit your progress. That gap between knowing and feeling, that's not a willpower problem. That's a subconscious problem. And here's what I want you to really hear. You're not a failure for having attempted so many things and nothing actually working. You were just working at the wrong level of awareness. The conscious mind is like your desktop on your computer. It's what you see. It's where you move things around. It's where you open apps and organize your life. But the programs that actually run your behavior, your emotional reactions, your automatic responses to things outside of you, those live in the operating system, the subconscious. And you can't change the operating system by rearranging icons on your desktop. That's why nothing's worked. Not because you didn't try hard enough, not because you're not smart enough or disciplined enough or ready enough. You were just using the wrong tool for the job. Okay, so if willpower and anxiety aren't the answer, then what is? Here's where it gets interesting. I want you to ask yourself something. Have you started to believe that anxiety or doubt are just who you are? That they're part of your personality, part of your identity that cannot be changed? That some people are just calm and confident, and you're just not one of them? Because if that's you, I want you to consider that you might be wrong, and wrong in the best way possible. Because here's the thing, and this is a writer downer. Your emotional reactions are not who you are. You are not your feelings. You are not your thoughts. Those are just conditioned patterns. If our feelings were our identity, if they were something we're just stuck with and we can't change, then I wouldn't have gone from being the most neurotic person I know to being in the first percentile in neuroticism on the Big Five personality assessment. I wouldn't have gone from experiencing depersonalization, constant catastrophizing, and anxiety that would rob me of my sleep, that would have me completely dissociated from reality, to how I am right now. I'm able to do anything I set my mind to without any irrational fear and anxiety. I can just do what I want to do, and I don't get in my own way with negative thoughts and beliefs. I don't have this negative expectation. So how is that? How was I able to change that? You see, your emotions are just conditioned patterns. They were probably installed really early when you didn't really have a choice. Likely when you were younger than 10 years old. And now they're running automatically, operating beneath your conscious awareness. But here's the good news. Anything that has been conditioned can be reconditioned. Because you weren't born anxious. You weren't born with self-doubt. You weren't born fearing rejection or judgment or failure. You weren't born with scarcity beliefs around money and success. You learned these things. Just like Pavlov's dog learned to salivate at the sound of a bell, you learn to tense up in certain situations, to brace yourself when it came time to set a boundary or express your needs or express your feelings, to expect the worst when you take some action towards your goals, to feel unsafe in the face of new opportunities or new relationships. And that's not a flaw in your character. That's not something you're stuck with. That's not you. That's programming. Now, what's really interesting, and this is something I'm going to unpack deeper later on, neurologically, an emotion only lasts about 90 seconds. Harvard-trained neuroscientist Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor discovered that every emotion, every negative emotion you experience, whether it's anxiety or fear or anger, is processed in 90 seconds. There are only a couple of things that keep you trapped in negative emotions for longer than that. But think about that. Just 90 seconds. If you're feeling anxious for hours or days, or you've been anxious for years, it's not because the emotion itself is lasting that long. It's because we're doing something unconsciously that's re-triggering it over and over by the quality of the thoughts we're looping, by our interpretations about external events. And that's the program that's running. The meaning making, how we're filtering our experiences, the story we're telling ourselves about what is true. And that program, that meaning making, that filtering, that can be changed. And I'm not saying this theoretically, I'm saying this from experience. I used to be, like I said, one of the most emotionally reactive people I knew. High anxiety, high neuroticism, that constant low-grade dread. And for a little while there, I didn't realize that this was something that was really psychological. I won't go into detail here, but there was some health anxiety, some hypochondria that I was experiencing, and that comes with a whole host of symptoms: elevated heart rate, spirals going down WebMD symptom lists, and all kinds of things like that. But I thought there was generally something wrong with me at a physiological level. It was only later when I realized, after reflecting, wow, I am looping some really bad thoughts in my mind, that I realized I have to reprogram myself. And I did so using hypnosis, using specific techniques that work at the level where the pattern actually lives. And because of that, and since then, since that 30-minute hypnosis session, I have not felt health anxiety ever again. And that's not something I'm saying to brag. That's not ego. That's a measurable, verifiable fact. And the amazing thing is that it didn't take decades of therapy. Just like with my clients that rewire their subconscious mind with hypnosis and neurolinguistic programming, it doesn't take them multiple sessions or multiple years to get over these problems. It doesn't take them meditating for hours a day. It happens fast. And for me, it happened because I stopped trying to manage my emotions and I stopped thinking about things. I decided to change the program that actually runs those automatic patterns. Not only did I feel different after that session, but I stopped going on the internet and searching every little ache that I was feeling in my body. I didn't feel the compulsion to check my pulse every 10 minutes. And my heart was no longer going at 120, 130 beats per minute at rest for no reason. And I share this with you, not to impress you, but to impress upon you that you're not broken. If you're experiencing any of these things, any health anxiety, any irrational fear or phobia, there's nothing wrong with you. There's just a program that's running on autopilot, and that program can be changed. So naturally, the question you might be thinking now is, well, how do I change them? Well, let me show you what this looks like in practice. If part of you is hearing this and thinking, that sounds way too simple, there's no way these results are possible. That might work for other people, but certainly not me. I actually want you to pay attention to that, because that resistance, that skepticism you're feeling, that voice that says, not for me, that is the old program trying to protect itself. There's a part of you that's been holding on to these behaviors because they're meeting an emotional need. Maybe it's the need for certainty. Maybe it's the need for comfort. Maybe a need for significance. That's something to unpack later, but it's been running for years, maybe decades. It's comfortable, it's familiar, and it will fight to stay in place in some people. So if you are feeling some resistance when I share this with you, know that that's not a sign that this won't work for you. That's a sign we're onto something. Something's being triggered. And I want you to understand that it is when you work at the subconscious level that change happens, and it happens faster than you've been told is possible. Not in years, not decades, but in an instant. In just a few minutes, you can rewire those old patterns that have been getting in the way of your quality of life. Really think about that. Think about the difference between talk therapy and targeted subconscious work. In talk therapy, if you have ever utilized that modality, you're working with the conscious mind. You're building insight, which is great, understanding, awareness. And again, that has value, but you're still working at that surface level. Likely you're just digging your finger into a bullet wound, at best putting a Band-Aid over it. But the truth is, that's not going to fix the problem. It's going to bleed out eventually. And if you keep talking about your problems instead of actually changing them, it's like pouring salt on an open wound. It's going to hurt, and it won't be resolved. The real fix is extracting whatever's in there, any fragments, and then sewing the thing up, right? So when you use this level of reprogramming, hypnotic programming, you're going into the operating system. You're going into what really runs how you feel, how you think, how you show up. And when you change things at that level, the surface stuff shifts automatically. When the beliefs running how you feel change, what you do, how you interpret reality, all of it changes. So let's get down to the nitty-gritty. What can we do to turn around this unwanted stress response? Number one, of course, is self-regulation. There are two types of anxiety and fear, right? There's rational fear and anxiety, where you actually are in danger, where you have every right to be angry or afraid or sad or anxious because there's a real and present danger, because your values are being stepped on, because somebody's just disrespected you, because your needs are not being met. Whatever the reason, if it's rational, we have to self-regulate, right? We have to find a way to stay composed and stay centered and stay calm, cool, and collected no matter what's going on out there. If it is an irrational fear response, an anxiety response, meaning we're replaying something from the past, we're imagining something negative in the future, we're letting thought content put us in fight or flight, then we have to make some changes. And that brings me to point number two, and that is the subconscious programming. We must go beyond surface level strategies and go to where the patterns running our emotional states live. Number three is we got to learn how to accept our emotions, because what you resist persists and what you accept dissolves. And there's a way for you to let your emotions go through you and let them serve as messengers, let them serve as what they are, which is a signal for what needs are not being met, and really listening to your body and honoring those feelings and regulating your nervous system where needed, but not fighting what you feel. Really sitting with it without feeling like you have to act on any feeling, on any emotion or bodily sensation. To get those four things right is the real secret. If you do that, anxiety doesn't stand a chance. I want you to really imagine that for a second. What would your life look like if you woke up tomorrow without that usual dread, without that cloud hanging over you? If the mental chatter just went away? If the self-doubt was no longer there? When you tell yourself you're going to do something for your business or for your family or for yourself, there's no little voice on your shoulder telling you, don't do it. You should be scared of taking any action. What if this? What if that? And worst case scenario loops. What if all that goes away? Not because you suppressed your feelings, not because you white knuckled your way through it, but because it simply wasn't there anymore. What would that mean to you? What would be different then? How would you show up at work? How would you show up in your relationships? How much less drama would there be? How would you show up in the decisions you've been putting off? What would be different? What would you try that you have been keeping on the back burner for months, maybe years? What would become possible then if fear and doubt and anxiety and stress weren't in your way? Well, that's not fantasy. That's what happens when you stop managing your emotions and simply reprogram what causes them. You don't fix a virus by yelling at your computer. You also don't fix it by downloading more malware. Not by drinking your feelings away, not by smoking your feelings away, not by eating your feelings away. You have to go into the code and rewire what causes those patterns, to uninstall, to delete the anxiety program. This isn't about coping better. It's about changing the wiring. Now, here's the thing. I could talk about this for hours, and I would love to share with you on this podcast exactly how we go about applying these things. But at some point, you have to experience it. And that's what I want to invite you into now. I know this might be a new way of thinking about yourself, and that's okay. You don't have to have it all figured out now. You don't have to be 100% convinced. In fact, I don't want you to take my word at face value. I want you to be skeptical, because I'm very skeptical. Like I said, I was a victim of cult brainwashing. For 9 years, I was in a cult. And since then, I've studied in depth how brainwashing works. I don't believe in woo-woo. I don't believe in this unscientific BS that people spread, giving you false hope that you're going to be changed and you're going to feel better. This is not what we're doing here. This is rewiring your subconscious mind using applied behavioral neuroscience. And I don't want you to take my word for it. I want you to actually experience this and actually see for yourself what's possible. You don't have to silence every skeptical voice in your head before you take the next step. But if something here landed, if something made you go, I never thought of it that way, if even a small part of you is curious, I would love to show you more. And I'd love to unpack for you exactly how we can, in just a few minutes, change how we feel and tap into this calm composure that can have a positive impact on your relationships and your business and your personal life and your self-concept. I'm hosting a workshop very soon on the 24th and 25th of January that goes much deeper into this. It's not just more theory. It's not more information to add to the pile of information. We don't need more information. We're in the information age. Everybody has access to Amazon. We can buy a book on literally anything. It's not information we need. It's transformation, integration, to really internalize these things, because you get all the books in the world, right? But if you don't do what's in the books, that's not self-help. That's shelf-help. And it doesn't help anybody, right? You actually have to apply what you learn. And that's really what we're going to do during this workshop. We're going to apply some different ways of thinking, feeling, and acting that can really shift how you handle your emotions. This is your chance to actually experience what I'm talking about and experience my work if you've never experienced it before, to feel what it's like when you work at the subconscious level, to start the process, not just hear about it. On day one, which is going to be the 24th of this month, we're going to unpack a lot of amazing things, a lot of neuroscience behind emotions and how they work and what you can do to start to change how you feel. And if you apply for the VIP session, which is day 2, then we actually get to integrate all of that. We will be going over some more strategies. And then for the second half of that session, on the 25th, we will be doing hypnosis to integrate everything you will learn over the course of those 2 days at a subconscious level. My promise to you, my guarantee to you is that after those 2 days, if you get the VIP ticket, you are not going to feel the same way you felt before. You're going to have a completely different relationship with your emotions, and you're going to feel such a strong feeling of composure and calm, and you'll be able to see things accurately instead of distorting them and making them worse than they are in your mind. If that sounds like something you need, all you got to do is visit live.lancesinclair.com. That's live.lancesinclair.com. Read more about the event, register for whatever ticket you want. If you just want to attend day one, great. If you want to attend both days and actually experience the hypnosis on day two, great. No pressure, just an open door. Here's what I know. The version of you that's not weighed down by anxiety, by self-doubt, and emotional reactivity, that version is not a fantasy. It's not some idealized future self you'll never reach. They're waiting. But they can't show up until the old programs get out of the way. And that's a decision only you can make. If you're ready to make that decision, if you're ready to stop managing and start transforming, I invite you to check out the event at live.lancesinclair.com, where I'll walk you through exactly how to apply these strategies and how to rewire your subconscious mind for emotional mastery. That's the real work. I'm going to put the link in the description. And I want to thank you for sticking with me to the very end, and really for not giving up on yourself, for trusting yourself enough to keep trying different things until you find the thing that works for you. And I know that if you show up for this, this will work for you. And I can't wait for that result. That's all we care about here. Only results matter. Doesn't matter what the page says, doesn't matter what I say. It only matters how you feel afterwards. And I promise you will feel totally different, and you will walk out of that session, out of that workshop, a completely new person. I hope to see you there. Again, the event is Unbreakable You. It is January 24th and 25th at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I can't wait. I'm super, super excited. If you think this episode would be beneficial to somebody you know, if you know an entrepreneur who struggles with anxiety or stress and neuroticism, endless worry loops, I invite you to please share this episode with them before the workshop so they can see that they're not broken. And so maybe you can join the event together. I find that experiences like this, workshops, seminars, events of this kind are far more enjoyable and exciting when you share in the experience with someone you love. Not only can they keep you accountable for going all in, but also you can share in witnessing each other's transformation, and that is a really beautiful thing. Thank you again for spending this half hour with me today. I'm Lance Sinclair, and I will see you in the next one.